Hey everyone, I'm Mike. Welcome to Blue Hands Video. I don't know if I'll make a habit out of being in front of the camera, but it just seemed, for what I wanted to explain on this video, it'd be, just seeing my hands there or whatever. So, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be turning chips today. I'm here at my little CNC Lathe, Harbor Freight 9x20, little conversion. I bought it converted, I did not convert it, but if you're watching the videos in order or whatever on the bearing adapters I'm making and stuff like that, if you're following along, it might seem like I'm a little out of order. I made the bracket spacers for the brackets, but I only did one side so far. I haven't determined exactly the height on those, and I don't want to determine that height yet until I get the bearing spacers done to the dimensions I want. So then I can get everything measured up and figure out exactly what I want for the other spacer height. So I've only got 4 of these turned so that this first operation meets what I want. The ODs are nice, everything like that. The ID fits. So it's time to work on the coding, the G-code, the programming, whatever, for the backside. Basically, I need to face it to the length I want, and then I'm going to put a radius in there so that radius fits fairly close to the back of the bearing here. Okay, part of the reason for doing this radius, this radius fits to the back of the bearing. Okay, I'm going to radius this so it fits to the spindle, and what that does is that keeps a thicker cross section of metal here for strength, and it looks cooler. And the CNC, once you're done with the programming and everything, the CNC doesn't care whether it's turning a curve or just cutting a chamfer. So might as well make it look cool and have it turn a radius. So anyway, the point of this video basically is going to be setting up the code. So I will have to turn the controller on a couple of times to get some settings, some measurements, find out where the tool is and stuff like that. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the tool to figure out where my part is, and then I can build in the wizards from those. So I'm going to run through how I'm combining the wizards, because in all the videos I watched and I'm still watching on YouTube, I'm not finding anywhere they've taken the time to really sit down and say. Everybody said, oh yeah, I just combined them all in Notepad, blah, blah, blah. And maybe it was obvious to everybody else but me, but it took me a while to figure out what had to happen, because I didn't know anything about G-code. So there's a couple things you can play around with there and stuff like that. So. God, I need an automatic filter. So and and okay. Let's pull back. I think I'll turn the controller on, and we'll oh, I got to change the chucks. I got to change over to the 4-inch chuck, and then we can start mounting it up and playing with it. If I was doing this on my big lathe, I would definitely have a board under there. I don't think I'm going to get any tighter. So what I'm looking to do here is I made this spacer, and I think I took video of it. I'm not exactly sure. Some of it starts running together, and if I don't download it off the camera immediately, I forget what's going on. So I can't put this in here because of the radius. Okay, I need a predictable Z setting. And there's no way to predict how to do that. So I made this spacer that compensates, gets rid of the radius basically. So I can put this in here and tighten it down. I need a knocker. Oh, I got a knocker. A pair of knockers is better, but I'll settle for one. Okay, so my spacer on the backside there is tight. I don't necessarily want to try to squeeze this too tight because I don't want to squish that, you know, that end on there. Alright, I got just a touch there. First thing I'm going to do is take a face cut and get this down to the 480. So my plunge feed of 1, I'm still not exactly sure what that is, so 1 inch per minute, that's safe. So X start. Now X start, it starts in the center here, and at least my experience is that if you put X start as the bigger diameter and X end as the smaller, it cuts from the outside in. And vice versa. If you put it on the X start as the small one, X end as the big diameter, it will feed out. On this particular one, I want to feed it in. No real reason why, other than it's consistent with all the others I've set up. So this, I cut all those other ones down to roughly the main outer diameter, which is on the paperwork here. This main diameter out here is 2.126, and I turned the other ones down to be pretty close to that, so we should be safe there. That's 100 thou off, 2.126. I can make it 2.2, which I don't even really need that because it's going to... Oh, it doesn't give an X clearance. Okay, it gives a Z clearance, but not an X clearance. So if I'm not positive that I'm not going to run right into that before I start, then I think I'm going to set that... I could set that 100 thou out. So let's just click in there again. We'll leave that then. So X end, the inside diameter is 1.260. Okay. So my Z, my X end, 1.260. I'm actually going to want it to go in past that. So I want it a little smaller, so 1.2. It'll go past it by 60 thou. So let's put 1.2 in there. Alright. My Z start. Now I did the measurements there and I zeroed it so that I put the part zero right here on this edge, and I know that I want to be 480. Now let's take a quick measurement on a couple of these, and I got 565, 550, 555. So let's go with 565. And I can tweak it a little later when I have a more predictable part. You know, it'll make it easier to do that. So this is going to be, it's not going to be 1 point. It's going to be yeah. What was I saying? I was saying that was 1.55. No, it's 0.56. This one is well, that one's only like 0.535. So this is going to be 0.565. End is going to be 480. Okay, that's what I got off my dimensions on, that's what I have on here. Z clearance 150, 0.150. I've got it set that high. That's basically how far, when I've cut to the point where I'm going to end, how far it comes back out and goes back and comes in. You could tell at 10 thou, and it would just barely pull out and come back. But I've got some backlash in there that causes my saddle to twist, my cross slide. But it's less than 150. So what I'm doing is I'm backing it out 150 so that when I pull it back in, it's back to where it should be and I can get consistent cuts. So I'm going to leave that at 150. My roughing feed rate, 5 with a depth of cut of 0.25. That's been working on the other ones. So we'll go with this and we'll see how some of the test pieces. I can tweak this and change that later. So let's save these settings. Let's post the code. It comes up and you can see that it's really pretty simple. It's just, a couple of heavy cuts there if you can see the blue in there, and then there's the final cut. So now we want to exit. It automatically loads it up in here. Okay. If I hit cycle, that's where I can come in here and edit. So just to make things a little bit easier for me to see and read, the added spaces don't affect anything, the lines. Excuse me. So to start with here, I'm going to start this out as, what did I save the other one as? Let's go to Notepad. Let's go to Open. Truck Inner Bearing Adapter. Alright, that says Inner Bearing Bore. I don't need that one. This is going to be Truck Inner Bearing Adapter 2, I guess, because this is going to be the second. I'm not real good at the naming. This is going to be the second operation. Alright, so we can close this notepad. And we can just save this one as... Oops, went the wrong way. G-code. Truck kit parts. There we go. And I'll just add a 2 to the end here. So that takes care of the face cut. Now we're going to go do the radius cut. I could go ahead and test this one first because it's actually going to need a tool change. And then I can tweak it. But it's so simple for now, and I don't want to take all day doing the G-code here. So this will automatically get replaced if I go do another wizard. So if we pick a wizard, and this time we are going to do ID fillet right here. Okay. Fillet radius. Fillet radius, I got a radius of 350 thousandths. So that's what I'm going to put up here. X start. I want it to start at that inner bore, which is the 1.260. Should be right around there. 1.260. They tend to come out, I think they're coming out at like 261 kind of thing, which is fine. At least I won't be cutting in and leaving a divot, you know. X end. I didn't put it on this one. I think I need the dimension when that arc comes up and quits. Reason being, alright, so you see where this lip is. Okay. That is where it ended. So you tell it to end there. Because it'll start here, but if I tell it to end all the way out at the edge here, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's going to move it in further. Or will it? That's what we have test pieces for, I guess. So let's put the X end, because what I'd really like it to do is come around here and just run straight up the outside there and blend it instead of just stopping in the middle. Because if I don't have the 480 perfect, you know, it won't blend perfect. So I think we're going to put down the X end is the 2.126. Ah, 2.126, enter. Z start is, okay, that says it's the end there, so that's going to be 0.480. Z end. It's a 350 radius, so I have to go in at least 350 from the 480, which would make it 150, right? 0.480 minus 0.350, 0.13, or yeah, 0.13. Okay, so Z end I think has to be at least 0.13. It may kick it back on us. Clearance. Let's do the 150 and see how that goes. I got plenty of room inside the hole there. So roughing feed rate. Let's try 5 inches at 15 thou. Finish feed rate of 5 inches at 15 thou. Now it may not let us do this. Let's see here. Oh, it did. Okay, a lot of times I get something wrong and, oh, yeah, see, there we go. Z start equals Z end. Oh, and because what I did here is, that's 1.3, and I was supposed to make it 0.13. 0.13. All right, so save those settings, post the code. It worked. Okay, and this is what, yeah, see, that's what I was afraid of. I don't get any flat spot here like I wanted. You know, I want... So let's do the end. Yeah, see, and since I have this set, I'm looking at this edge right here as being the outer edge of my bearing adapter. So I'm going to set that in at 2 inches. Let's see what we get. Alright, we'll save the settings, post the code. Doesn't look any different. Oh, that's where it's ending. That means there's still another 60 thou hanging out here. So let's start with that. See what we get. Okay, so here's what I didn't get originally. All right, here's the code, and it's for this piece. Now we want to add it to the other one. So if I go into edit here, I don't need this first line here, which is the setup. Gets rid of all the presets and all that kind of stuff. And there's the M3 that says it's the start of the program. So then we'll come all the way down here. And I don't need the M5 and the M30, because that's the opposite of M3, and the M30 tells it to return back to the beginning. So I'm going to skip that stuff. I'm going to copy it. Let's go open up Notepad and open this one again, which already has the first facing cut in here. So I left a gap in here, so I'm going to come down in here and paste that in there. Now, I want to make sure that I don't lose track of where the gap was. So here's the gap. Let's make that a little more pronounced, because I want to put in here, I want to put in T0202, and that's my boring bar. Okay, so it'll come up and tell me to change that. Now, I really need to go back and look at what the characters are to allow me to go in and write notes. Because you can actually have it come up and it'll tell you, instead of saying just change to tool 2, it'll come up and say change to tool 2 boring bar if you put your notes in here correctly. So now when I back out of this, want to save changes? Yes. We can close this one, but that's still the one that's loaded in here. So I'm going to back up a page and I'm going to unload that. Now let's go in here and load up. Ah, man, I do that every time. Inner bearing adapter 2. And now it is drawn. It has drawn. There's our facing cut, and there is the arc. And it's got so much extra hanging out here because of the safety or wherever it was I told it to start. So now we're supposed to go cut air. I want to go ahead and jog it up and make sure that you know, roughly where my face is and stuff like that, and and let's see if it'll make some chips and do what we want.